I manage the Victorian Defence Alliances. The Victorian Defence Alliances are a group of industry clusters which are a partnership between the State Government of Victoria and the local industry association, which is the Australian Defence Alliance Victoria. Back in 2007 I was fortunate enough to get a role with the State Government of Victoria in their Defence Industry Unit, which focused on defence industry development. And I was there for 5.5 years, so that's really where I learnt the background in defence industry. It was actually the Industry Association that developed the alliances initially. The first one was the Land Systems Alliance, because it was recognised that in Victoria we have some very capable small to medium enterprises, but they are generally on the smaller side, and there was a need to create a critical mass of capability and encourage those companies to actually work together and collaborate. So the Industry Association got some funding from the state government to establish a teaming manager, and he went around and started talking to the SMEs, and from that developed the Land Systems Alliance. Following that, it was such a successful model that they established the Maritime Alliance. The Industry Association then got funding from state government to do a submarine study, so looking at submarine industry capability in the state and matching that with opportunities. And that's actually when I came on board, because I ran that study for them. And the end result of that was the Submarine Alliance. So you can see there now we've got the 3 alliances. The state government recognised that this was a model that was working really effectively, so we were successful in getting some further funding to establish now 5 alliances. So we've got land systems, maritime, submarines, digital and aerospace. Each alliance is led by an industry committee who volunteer their time, and it's great that they do. I think it's one of the things that sets the alliances apart, is that they're actually industry led. And on those committees we have representatives from BAE, from smaller companies like Tectonica, Morand, SIPAC, so some well-established businesses who are willing to offer their expertise and mentor other SMEs in the sector. So across all of the alliances we have about 470 members, but as I said, there are a range of experience from those that are brand new to defence, just looking at it as somewhere that they think they might be able to grow their business, through to companies that have obviously been in the sector for a long time. So the idea is they share experiences, the new entrants can learn from the experienced entrants and avoid the pitfalls, and that's also why the state government value the alliances. One of the key achievements we've had is in showcasing the great capability that we have here in Victoria. A great example of that is when the competitive evaluation process was underway for C1000, the future submarine project. The Japanese bidders, the German bidders and the French bidders were all looking at mainly at Adelaide and WA, because that's where the fabrication and sustainment of the platform was going to be. Through the alliances and through our capability directory, we were able to demonstrate to them that we had over 100 companies who had already identified that they had capability to participate in the submarine program. And that's subsequently grown. We've now got nearly 300 companies in our Victorian Defence Alliance submarines. So that, I'd say, was one of our key achievements. The other thing, I think, is the actual collaboration between members. So at our member briefing sessions, we run a Meet the Member segment where a company can get up for 3 minutes and talk to their quad chart. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is we're trying to train them so that they can identify their value proposition and communicate that effectively in 3 minutes. Often at trade shows with a prime, you're not going to get long to sell your story. But it's also about getting the members to be aware of other members, and I know that from that process there's been contracts let and supply chain growth amongst our members, and that comes back to that original concept of collaboration and building that critical mass of capability in the state. As we know, the Australian defence industry is a national opportunity, and across all sectors actually we will collaborate with other states, and that's really how industry operates, and we recognise that. So I'm actually allowed to have Tasmanian members as part of the Victorian Defence Alliance and companies on adjacent borders. So I've got a few Albury companies from New South Wales. But one of the key ways we've collaborated recently is with visits over to WA and more recently over to Adelaide, where we were showcasing SME capability in the maritime sector. The Henderson Alliance really hosted us very well, a group of Victorian and South Australian companies over there, and put on site visits, and we also ran business-to-business meetings. And then that's evolved into what was held last week in Adelaide, the Australian Defence Alliance SME Summit, where over 185 SMEs from around Australia attended, and I actually managed the business-to-business meetings, and there are apparently 215 individual meetings that we ran that afternoon with, I think there were 8 primes there. So whilst the ships might be assembled in Adelaide, the supply chain is going to reach across everywhere. There just isn't that depth and capacity in one state alone. And the companies recognise that they need to partner across state boundaries in order to be able to deliver that great capability and the sovereign industry capability that the Commonwealth Government are asking of us. Growing rapidly. I've had a flurry of recent applications, which is great. I think as word gets out more and more about the nearly $200 billion spend over the next 10 years, there's going to be other sectors, so oil and gas, mining, companies in those supply chains who are looking for opportunities. We're in discussions now with the state government about future funding. I think there are really some key areas, so Industry 4.0, that we need to be helping our companies recognise access. We've signed an agreement with Swinburne University recently to assist them to encourage some SMEs to work through their program and the Factory of the Future. So I think that'll be a key focus. The other thing will be partnerships with overseas companies. So we know there's a lot of French SMEs, for example, who are part of the Naval Group supply chain, who are looking for Australian companies to partner with, joint invest with, and we're really keen to help facilitate those partnerships wherever we can. Same with Hunter Class, BAE Systems, again, UK SMEs keen to work with Australian companies, and that's a big part of what we want to do, is encourage that global supply chain activity.